We have our last session, so I am here to introduce Tito Jankowski. He is the CEO of AirMiners, an impact incubator for businesses that want to take climate change head on. He was intrigued after he met Peter and heard about how affordable ocean iron fertilization is. He is here to talk with us about the necessity of funding climate restoration projects and how imperative it is that we all be involved. So, Tito, please help me welcome Tito to the stage.
Thank you very much. Hey, good evening, everybody. All right, who do we have in the audience here? We've got, how many people here are scientists? We've got a couple scientists. We heard some scientists earlier. How many people here are entrepreneurs starting companies? All right, cool. Let's go. How many people here you're in finance or you're working for a family office or an investment fund or something like that? Anybody there? Okay, awesome. Students? How many students do we have still? Hey, awesome. What? How about everybody else? Anybody haven't raised their hand yet? What would you say, Chuck?
I'm a design professional.
Design professional. Any other design professionals in the room? Okay, and how about who else? You would raise your hand in the back.
How about climate activists?
Climate activist. How we go? Let's get those hands up. That's good. I'll have to put my hand up for that one. Awesome. Terrific. How do I change the slides, by the way? Okay, correct. Awesome. Thank you. Well, I'm really thrilled to be here with all of you and hear about all of your backgrounds. We've heard incredible things today, right? I mean, the cruise sounds super cool. I want to go on that. We've heard about the filmmaker who flew around the planet to see all these different methods of carbon removal. I'm going to be digging more into that because that's what AirMiners is all about. But I'm going to start with the financial side of it. So the money side of carbon removal. Before getting into kind of, we've heard today already what is carbon, what is carbon removal, climate restoration, what are all these things? This is kind of working from the other end, which is, here's this announcement that there's this $925 million committed for whatever this carbon removal stuff is all about. This was in 2022. We saw a $500 million coalition come together to suck carbon dioxide from the sky. This is companies like Alphabet, Microsoft, and Salesforce making these big commitments. And then a giant logo salad of like so many major corporations that are getting into whatever this thing is. We also saw entire venture funds spring up. Chris Sacca's Lower Carbon Capital raised a $350 million fund focused on carbon removal. Chris Sacca is well known for being one of the investors on Shark Tank. If you've ever seen Shark Tank, Chris Sacca is one of the people on that. Wears a cowboy hat, I believe, so maybe he's recognizable that way. Carbon Removal Partners, Amazon is investing in carbon removal. And that really sets the stage of, well, what is this stuff, right? What is how it has the world's leading corporations and the world's leading investors seeing this as an opportunity to spend their money, to invest their money in carbon removal. There's also one last thing which had a big update yesterday, which is the Musk Foundation funded the $100 million Carbon Removal X Prize. This was a competition running over the last 4 years. Around the world, many of the companies that you saw in John's presentation were competing for this $100 million prize, and all of these things have led to the rise of carbon removal. That number going up of removing more carbon from the atmosphere, reversing climate change that way. Yesterday, Mati Carbon was awarded a $50 million prize for carbon removal. This is a graduate from one of our accelerator programs, and they went on to actually win the grand prize for this whole competition. And so that gives you a sense of that's what carbon removal kind of looks like from a financial perspective. There's people winning prize money. There's investors putting hundreds of millions of dollars in. There's corporations committing billions of dollars to carbon removal. So AirMiners is the world's largest accelerator for carbon removal startup companies. We've had 200 startup companies go through our program. The companies that were shown in John's documentary, we know some of those teams. They've been through our program all over the planet. They've raised more than $250 million in venture capital, in grants, now in prizes. That's a picture of Shantanu and Jake, the founders of Mati Carbon, the X Prize winning team. Just for a sense of like, well, what are people saying about this community, this ecosystem that we've created? This is Rory from a direct air capture company, AirHive. He says that AirMiners is the biggest player, is the most important single actor in the CDR ecosystem. So I wanted to share some of that journey today that we've had building AirMiners and that, as investing in companies, supporting companies that are working to reverse climate change and restore the climate. We really have focused on this funding and this support stage. And so when I'm hearing, we're talking today about raising a couple $1 million to create a new business. We're talking about raising, it sounds like $27 million to kick off iron fertilization experiments. All those numbers are really in the scope and the scale of what we've been able to unlock through AirMiners. And so I wanted to share that journey as we look forward to what's next and how do we continue to unlock more funding and more support and resources for reversing climate change. And the thing I wanted to point out is, companies like Mati Carbon is working on enhanced rock weathering. That was one of the topics featured in the documentary that John was talking about. Those as a topic, that was very much kind of on the frontier 5 years ago when that X Prize was first announced. Things like biomass burial, the idea of taking plant material and burying it, also was there's a startup that won $8 million yesterday doing biomass burial. Those are things that were really on the frontier 5 years ago, and now yesterday, millions of dollars are flowing into those ideas. Millions of dollars are being invested, and carbon credits purchased from those things. And so, really bringing attention to what's next now is going to look like that pretty soon. 5 years from now, we're going to have millions of dollars flowing into what today is at the frontier. This photo is the cover of the New York Times. This is one of our graduates' carbon run. That picture is one of their facilities that's on the side of a river in Nova Scotia, where they're adding alkalinity to the river to remove carbon dioxide and make decrease the acidification of the river. So again, these are things that a couple of years ago were really on the frontier, and now they're on the front page of the New York Times. Now they're winning these millions and millions of dollars of prize money and investments, and that journey really started in earnest just a couple years ago. And so it's really the environment there has really changed very quickly. The investment landscape, the business landscape for these things has changed, and it's really opened up space for all the things related to further restoration of the climate. We've had I mentioned the corporate purchases early on. We've had the $1 billion Frontier commitment. 25% of their purchases last year were from our teams. And so you can really meet scientists and engineers and entrepreneurs who are small teams starting new promising companies, and then there's an ecosystem for them to get investment, to meet customers and to grow their companies. We also know that we've really seen that on that other side, the way that you take these things that seem like opportunities to improve the soil, opportunities to improve the ocean, to improve the air, having a customer on the other side of that really changes the game. And so that's where something we've really dug into in the last year is we created our own fund to do some of these investments, and we partnered with Shopify, which is a digital payments platform. If you've ever ordered stuff online through Amazon or Shopify or other places like that, Shopify is one of those online payment platforms. And so we brought in Shopify, who purchased $100,000 of carbon removal from every company in our fund. And so they came in and purchased $100,000 of carbon from 20 companies. And those companies were spread all over the world. Some of them were working in the oceans, some of them were working on land and farms, on direct air capture, all of these different methods of carbon removal. And so that's a way of bringing in and really demonstrating this opportunity of carbon removal, which is what has investors like Chris Sacca and some of the world's largest corporations investing in carbon removal is seeing that, look, if you can actually restore the climate, if you can actually restore soils and the ocean, that's a massive business opportunity. And it's not even one that's necessarily so much that it's an opportunity in the future. This is an opportunity right now. We've got hundreds of millions of dollars invested, billions of dollars committed by customers. This is an opportunity today. This is a little bit about the team. We're spread out across the United States, but it's a remote team. We've been able to work with those 200 teams all around the world. My day looks like I'll have a call with Nairobi in the morning, then a call with folks in Dublin and a little bit later, and then people on the East Coast start to wake up, and then the West Coast. And so there's people working on removing carbon dioxide all around the planet. So it's really inspiring to see all this happening. The key is it's really taking people that have these new up and coming ideas, supporting them to grow their company, but then also working with people who are on the capital side, people who are potential customers. This whole business of getting to a balanced climate, really, it's not just, hey, we're going to create this solution and people are going to immediately understand it and get how it's valuable to their business. We also see the opportunity we educate investors, we educate family offices, we educate up-and-coming corporate sustainability leaders. Everybody who sees this, look, this is something that could be a real opportunity for me, for my business, for my family, for my career. All of those things are really, when I'm hearing all the presentations today, just thinking about the potential for the scientific development, the potential for the business development, the potential for really the economic development. All this starts to really pull all sorts of people in. Like we were talking about with the ship as a platform, really, right? To say, okay, look, this is bringing science together. It's bringing business together. It's bringing tourism and entertainment together all in one place. I think that's a really good example of that kind of unleashing new ideas brings together a whole range of different stakeholders. And now on the eve of this X Prize being announced, this 4-year competition, I wanted to bring attention for everybody that's here about, well, what's next? What's the next phase? And so clearly the things that we saw in the documentary, the biochar, the enhanced rock weathering, direct air capture, all those things need major. They're at the point where they've been proven out. They need major investment to continue to scale, to continue to get the cost down, and everything that we've seen today starts to be, look, there's options to really potentially get the cost of carbon removal down to a completely, an order of magnitude or more cheaper. And those things really deserve attention now. Iron fertilization, we're talking about the budgets for the experimentation that's needed. Again, we've unleashed $250 million of investment into carbon removal. Would love to figure out how we can position that to unlock, for example, the $27 million of funding for the research on that initial iron fertilization experiment, and then the cheaper next one that comes after it, and all the experimentation and validation that goes along with that. I've also heard, we've been working on, are there other options for funding this stuff besides carbon removal credits, right? If we don't know that it's removing carbon, but we want to see, well, how can we fund those things? Some corporations have been talking about, instead of doing carbon removal credits, what about carbon removal innovation credits or something, where it's kind of like, we're not sure exactly how much carbon this is removing, but it's something that we want to support and we want to be a part of. And so in this stage, we're just going to give you a pass on whether the carbons is how accurately it's being removed, but we think it's the type of thing that we want to get behind and we want to contribute to that. That's a model we've seen emerge for many companies. It's the challenge of getting into the carbon removal accounting means you need to understand kind of your whole footprint and understand how much carbon is emitted by your business. And then you can do kind of what's called ton for ton accounting, where you remove those emissions or you account for those emissions. But that's a lot of work. You have to have your whole footprint figured out. You have to have your whole business process figured out, and then you have to pay for all of that carbon to get removed. So what we see a lot of companies looking at is a more contributive approach, where they say, look, we don't have all of our stuff figured out, but we can start to invest. We can start to put capital up that will push things in the right direction, even though we don't yet have all of our accounting worked out, or we're not able to do a one-for-one accounting for everything that we're doing. So those options really, I think, paint a interesting picture for funding iron fertilization, other up-and-coming topics in carbon removal as this whole industry starts to grow. Somebody mentioned green bonds earlier today. These other existing financial mechanisms. How do we start to use those and deploy those to reversing climate change? This is just a call for anybody in the audience. We have so many different ways to engage in climate restoration, right? If you're a philanthropist, or if you're an investor, family offices, you can join folks like Chris Sacca and Lower Carbon Capital. You can join corporations like Microsoft and Salesforce and Shopify that are all investing in carbon removal and really seeing it as an opportunity for their businesses. For scientists, would love to talk about how we bring together that $100 million to get iron fertilization questions answered and to really get all those rocks overturned, so we understand if this is really something that can scale and can be the solution that we hope it is. If you're an entrepreneur, check out AirMiners as a place to be an ecosystem for you, a place to connect to other people that are working on the same topic or similar topics. That's my email there, Tito@airminers.com. Would love to hear from you. And then lastly, if you're interested in switching your career, we have in parallel to our carbon removal accelerator program, we have an educational program called AirMiners Boot Up. It's 6 weeks. It's online. It's like a book club style where you're going through and there's podcasts you can listen to. There's articles you can read. There's videos you can watch. And as a group, you can divide and conquer and come together and do a discussion group every week on what's happening in carbon removal. We've had more than 1,000 people around the world graduate from that program, including some people who have really gone big in their careers, gone into leadership positions at the Department of Energy, gone into leadership positions at carbon removal startup companies and policymakers. And so it really has. We've had 35% of people come in saying they want to start a carbon removal company. 45% say they want to transition their career to climate. So you don't have to be already a climate activist or already working in climate. You can come to Boot Up and get that journey started. We've got our next cohort starting in the next couple weeks. So that's another shout out for anybody else that's interested in diving in. So with that, I want to thank you all for being here and being part of this discussion. I look forward to any questions folks have about carbon removal or kind of the funding models and the financing models for scaling.
Yeah, I'm curious. Well, thank you for your work. This is wonderful to see funding for startups in this space. A company like Mati and enhanced rock weathering, that's fairly exotic. That's fairly exotic technology, and I'm just curious, how does a company like that win $50 million? That was the award. Am I right?
Yeah.
What is the business model that is so compelling about Mati? I'm just curious. Do you know?
Yeah. So Mati's a graduate from our accelerator program, so we've been able to work with them. The prize was based on, for what it's worth, the business of the prize is one of the criteria of winning the prize. There's also like the does this actually remove carbon piece, right? So it's a bunch of different pieces that come together. But the business model is effectively we can sell carbon removal credits and we can provide soil benefits to farmers that are using the dust on their on their soil. So they've seen increased crop yields side by side with soil that's untreated.
But that doesn't answer the question. What is the business model? How does that company survive for 30, 50 years? Like, what is, you're an entrepreneur, right? You have to figure out how to sell something, how to, where there's a market, right? What is the market? The farmers are paying for that product, for that, whatever that chemical is that they're putting on their field?
Let's see. I know they're definitely selling carbon removal credits. So if you're removing carbon, you get paid for that. And there's this benefit to farmers. I'd have to check if they're charging farmers for that or how that piece works. But I think that part kind of makes sense. And you're getting better crop yields, so you're getting more income, more productive soil, and so that's their business model.
Okay, so you believe that there's going to be a long-term carbon removal credit market?
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of what's needed to balance the climate, we're going to need to pay to suck carbon dioxide from the sky.
Thank you.
And there's a lot of it. We put 1 billion tons of carbon dioxide into the air in the last 9 days. So there's lots and lots of carbon that needs to get removed. All right, and it looks like we're at time. I appreciate any questions afterwards, too. Happy to continue the conversation, and looking forward to meeting all of you.